Cold streets, hot hearts. In the heart of Chicago, where skyscrapers cast long shadows and winter winds chill to the bone, a story that has become a legend unfolds. It is the story of a homeless man, his faithful dog, and a seriously ill boy whose fates intertwine in a surprising way. In a world where indifference often drowns out compassion, their story proves that even in the darkest of times, love and kindness can work miracles. This is not just a tale of survival, but of how the connection between humans, animals, and hope has changed the lives of so many. Sit back, because this incredible story for our YouTube channel in the Incredible Stories niche will take you into a whirlwind of emotions, where tears of grief are replaced by the joy of triumph. Before the story starts, please write in the comments what country you are watching and listening to this story from. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, and like us so you don't miss new, interesting, exciting, incredible stories. At the intersection of West Adams and North Clark Street, where cars hum and neon signs flicker, there lived a man whom everyone called Jack. No one knew his real name, age, or past. In his mid-50s, with a gray beard and deep wrinkles, he was a shadow of the city. Jack slept under an old bridge in Lupa, covered with cardboard and a torn blanket. His only treasure was his dog, a golden-haired Labrador retriever he called Sparky. The dog with expressive brown eyes was his only friend, guardian, and meaning in life. Jack was not always homeless. 20 years ago, he worked as a mechanic in the suburbs, had a wife, Ellen, and a young daughter, Sophie. But tragedy destroyed everything. Ellen died in a car accident, and Sophie died of leukemia at the age of 7. Jack was unable to cope with his grief. He started drinking, lost his job, his home, and eventually himself. Sparky came into his life 5 years ago when Jack found a starving puppy in a dumpster. "You and I are the same, mate," he said, as he shared his last piece of bread. On the streets, Jack and Sparky were inseparable. Jack would collect bottles to buy food, and Sparky would sit next to him, barking at passers-by who threw coins into their can. The dog had amazing intuition. He sensed danger, found shelter from the rain, and even shared his body heat on frosty nights. The local shopkeepers loved Sparky for his gentleness, and children flocked to play with him. But Jack remained invisible, just another homeless person whom the city preferred to ignore. In the winter of 2023, Chicago was frozen. Temperatures dropped to -20 degrees Celsius, and Jack and Sparky struggled to survive. One evening, while hiding from a blizzard in an alleyway near the Moonlight Cafe, Jack spotted a little boy standing by a garbage can. The boy, about 10 years old, with a pale face and bruises under his eyes, was shivering in a thin jacket. "Where are you going, kid?" Jack asked. The boy was silent, his eyes full of fear. Sparky approached and licked his hand. The boy flinched but smiled, and so began their story. The boy's name was Oliver King, but Jack didn't know it. Oliver lived with his mother, Emily, in a cramped apartment on the South Side. Emily, a single mother, worked as a nurse at St. Anthony's Hospital, struggling to make ends meet. 2 years ago, Oliver was diagnosed with a rare form of aplastic anemia, a disease that was destroying his bone marrow, leaving him weak and vulnerable to infection. Doctors gave him no more than a year without a transplant, but finding a donor was almost impossible, and insurance did not cover all the costs. Oliver was a quiet but inquisitive boy. He loved reading books about space and dreamed of becoming an astronaut, but his illness took away his strength. He often missed school, suffered from fevers, and wore a mask to avoid infections. That evening, he ran away from home after a fight with his mother. Emily, exhausted from work, refused to read to him at bedtime, and Oliver, feeling like a burden, decided to leave forever. He got lost in the center of the city, freezing and losing strength. Jack saw that the boy could barely stand. "You can't stay here, you'll freeze," he said, taking off his old jacket and throwing it over Oliver. Sparky leaned against the boy, keeping him warm. Jack took him to the Moonlight Cafe, where the owner, Rosa, allowed him to warm up in exchange for cleaning. When Rosa saw Oliver's condition, she poured him hot cocoa and called the police to find his family. While they were waiting, Oliver started talking. "I don't want to go back," he whispered. "Mom is always sad because of me." Jack listened, holding his hand. "You know, kid, your mom is fighting for you. My daughter, she didn't make it, but you can." Sparky laid his head on Oliver's lap, and the boy fell asleep, calmed. The police arrived with Emily, who was sobbing as she hugged her son. She thanked Jack, but he just waved his hand. Sparky did it. Emily left him her number, begging him to contact her if he needed help. After that night, Jack and Sparky became part of Oliver's life. Emily invited them to her apartment when she found out that Jack had rescued her son. She offered them food and a warm shower, but Jack was embarrassed to take only some food for Sparky. Oliver, however, insisted that they come more often. "Sparky is my hero," he said, stroking the dog. Sparky, sensing the boy's weakness, was especially gentle. He would lie down next to him when Oliver was resting and bark if he forgot to take his medication. Emily noticed that Oliver came to life in Sparky's presence. The boy who rarely laughed was now telling Jack about planets and rockets, and Sparky listened as if he understood. Jack, despite his reticence, began to tell Oliver stories about his daughter Sophie, who loved the stars. She said she was going to be a star when she grew up. He recalled with a sad smile. These conversations healed them both. Oliver found hope, and Jack found meaning. One day in February 2024, Oliver collapsed at school. He was urgently hospitalized. His anemia was progressing and he needed an immediate bone marrow transplant. Emily turned to the National Donor Registry, but the chances were slim. The doctor, Dr. Adams, warned that without a donor, Oliver had only a few months left. Emily was in despair, and Jack felt old wounds reopen when he heard the news. "I'm not going to lose another child," he told Sparky, hugging the dog tightly. That night, Sparky behaved strangely. He was barking, running to the door, and dragging Jack outside. Jack, thinking that the dog wanted to go for a walk, followed him. But Sparky led him not to the usual alley, but to St. Anthony's Hospital, where Oliver was lying. The dog stopped at the entrance and howled, attracting the guard's attention. "What are you up to, mate?" Jack wondered. The guard, knowing Jack, let them into the lobby. There, Sparky ran to a stand with information about bone marrow donation. Jack realized that Sparky was trying to say something. There was a poster on the stand, "Become a donor, save a life," with a call to take a compatibility test. Jack had never thought about donating, his life seemed worthless, but Sparky kept looking at the poster. "You want me to try, don't you?" Jack asked. The dog barked as if to confirm. The next day, Jack returned to the hospital, where a nurse took a swab from him for a test. "It's for the little guy," he said as he stroked Sparky. Emily was touched when she heard about Jack's actions. She invited him to Oliver's room, where the boy, weak but smiling, drew Sparky in a spacesuit. "He's going to go to Mars," Oliver joked. Jack promised that Sparky would always be there for him, even if he was in the stars. These moments were a ray of light for everyone. Emily felt hopeful, Oliver felt supported, and Jack felt that his life mattered. 2 weeks later, a real shock came. The test showed that Jack was the perfect donor for Oliver. Dr. Adams called it a 1 in a million chance. Jack, who never considered himself a hero, was stunned. "It's Sparky, not me," he repeated. Emily sobbed as she hugged him. And Oliver whispered when he heard the news, "You're my superhero, Jack." The procedure was scheduled for March. Despite his poor health after years on the streets, Jack passed the medical examination and agreed to the donation. Sparky was waiting for him outside the hospital, becoming a mascot for the staff. The operation was a success. Jack's bone marrow began to restore Oliver's blood formation. The boy slowly recovered, his cheeks turned pink and his eyes shone. Emily called it a miracle, but Jack just stroked Sparky. "It's you, mate." The story of Jack, Sparky, and Oliver quickly spread around Chicago. A local journalist, Tom Harris, wrote an article for the Chicago Tribune under the headline, "The Dog Who Saved the Boy." Social media exploded, with the hashtag Sparky the Hero garnering millions of views. People sent food, clothes, and money for Jack and Sparky, and the charity raised $50,000 for Oliver's treatment and support for the homeless. Emily offered Jack to live in her apartment, but he refused, being used to freedom. Instead, she helped him get a job as a hospital cleaner and rent a small room. Sparky received a new collar and a basket of toys from his fans. When Oliver returned to school, he told his friends about his astronaut dog and Jack, who became his second father. In May 2024, Oliver was officially declared healthy. In honor of this, the hospital organized a celebration where Sparky became the star. Jack, for the first time in years, smiled sincerely, holding Oliver's hand. "You're my star, kid," he said. Sparky barked in agreement, and the whole crowd burst into laughter. By the end of 2024, Jack and Sparky's story had inspired thousands of people. The Paws of Hope charity, established in their honor, began helping homeless people with animals by providing food, medical care, and shelter. Jack became a volunteer, sharing his story to show that anyone can make a difference. Oliver, now an energetic 11-year-old boy, dreamed of becoming a veterinarian so he could help dogs like Sparky. Emily started a blog to share her son's recovery and her friendship with Jack and Sparky. Her posts gained millions of followers, and a video of Sparky playing with Oliver went viral. Jack, who was once invisible, now received letters from all over the world. "You and Sparky have reminded me that kindness is real," wrote one woman. In the winter of 2025, Sparky, who was already 8, began to weaken. The vet diagnosed him with liver cancer. Jack, Emily, and Oliver looked after him. But in February, Sparky quietly passed away. Jack sobbed as he held his friend, who had saved not only Oliver, but also himself. In memory of Sparky, a bronze statue of the dog with a plaque was installed in the park near the hospital. Sparky, the hero who brought the light. The story of Jack, Sparky, and Oliver has become a symbol of hope. Jack, who had lost everything, found a new family. Oliver, who fought against death, got a chance to live. And Sparky, an ordinary street dog, proved that love is stronger than any adversity. Their story, published in the book Paws That Changed Fate, sold millions of copies, and a film based on their story was being prepared for filming. Today, Oliver draws stars, naming one of them Sparky. Jack visits his statue every day, whispering, "Thank you, mate." And Chicago remembers the dog who taught the city to love. This incredible story is a reminder that even in the darkest alleys there is room for a miracle if there is a loyal heart beating nearby. Subscribe to the channel and like so you don't miss new, interesting, incredible, exciting stories. Thank you for watching and see you soon.